is a very interesting and a relevant topic, talking about globalization of higher education institutions in India and their impact and vision. You know, globalization is a very, very old buzzword that has been going around in the higher education institutions. We've been doing internationalization or globalization to a certain extent when we used to have faculty exchanges with international universities, the student exchanges and faculty exchanges. But now, with technology-based education, with EdTech and globalization and internationalization has taken another scope with its own impacts, with its own challenges, with its own opportunities with the higher education institutions in India. And there are multiple ways using technology-enabled education, the globalization is happening to different extents in different educational institutions. To a certain extent, we are having a lot of student exchanges using technology. Because of the online education available, we have subject matter experts from global and international universities delivering their lectures, delivering their content to our students and vice versa. We recently have been talking about IKS, the India Knowledge System, as also now it has been renamed as Bharat Knowledge System, which also provides us a very good opportunity to talk about our knowledge system with the international partner universities and students to understand how great our education system has been. Now, so there are various ways this internationalization or globalization is happening. With opening up of the Indian education space to global and international universities and institutions, there are a lot of opportunities that have come up in terms of joint certifications, joint degrees, joint diplomas, co-branded, the degree parchments and certificate parchments would contain the logos of both the universities or partner universities, and the student could be alumni of both the universities. So there are limitless opportunities that have emerged forth in today's era, especially when we talk about globalization, taking the help of EdTech and technology-enabled education. Today we have a fantastic panel, as you see, ocean of knowledge, depth of understanding of the Indian education space, inter alia the international education space, and how effective collaborative activities can ensure that we benefit from internationalization and globalization and vice versa. So what I would do therefore is that I will go around the panel and would request them to give a brief introduction about the university and a brief perspective of the globalization and its impact, what they feel in particular and in general this could bring to the education space. So post this brief introduction about the topic, I will once again go back to them and talk about specific opportunities and challenges that each one of us could contribute to the August gathering here. So I'll start with you, Dr. Patra. So.
Thank you so much. Use this. Good morning, everyone. Globalization. Let's try to understand. I come from a small city called Dehradun, from DIT University. But let's understand what is globalization. It is the process of free flow of ideas, knowledge, education, goods and services, and ultimately people. And a related concept is internationalization, which is the idea or the approach of incorporating and integrating global perspectives, global dimensions, international understanding, international knowledge into a higher education system or a higher education institution. Examples from years ago when IIT and IIM were established, they had a connection. They have been actually patterned after either the MIT or Harvard between IIT and IIM. So internationalization I think most of you would be familiar with and you have been doing for a while. But this idea of globalization brings a larger and bigger twist. I'm sure we'll get the opportunity to talk. As a matter of fact, I'm an example of internationalization because I studied and taught and led corporations in the US for nearly 30 years, and I'm back in India. So you can think of that as an example. And now EdTech, which is really the biggest lever or tool for basically facilitating the internationalization and globalization, as well as meet the Indian people or the Indian government's aspirations of a Viksit Bharat or developed India in year 2047. But of course, we must consider all the challenges and opportunities as well, and I'm hoping that we'll be discussing. But even in the EdTech space, I must say that when Salman Khan in the US started the Khan Academy, many of you might be familiar with, I took that concept some 15 years ago and transformed it into something called Education Without Border. And I implemented some of that in some of the colleges and schools in India as well as Sri Lanka. So that, although that has transformed tremendously with the advent of truly AI, fantastic AI. I'm sure some of that would be discussed over our discussions. With that brief intro, I will pass it on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Patra. Dr. Kim, your perspective on the internationalization of the higher education space.
Sure, thank you so much. Like Dr. Patra, I'm also a product of internationalization that started a long time ago in the 90s. But at that time, it was almost a challenge to actually get out of the country and go for higher studies. And I think the technology these days has advanced and at such a rapid pace that now I think I would like to talk about student mobility and the advantages available that were not available, and we should get our students to take advantage of it. The government has opened up the whole education system so beautifully, making it possible for our students to not only go abroad, but for the best of the best educational organizations from abroad to have collaborations with us. So I think earlier we were just recipients, but now I think we are drivers because we get to choose who to collaborate with, and then we should take every advantage of it, either through joint programs or twinning programs or dual degrees. I think that is something we need to offer our students, make it easier for them in terms of mobility. A lot of our students are not taking advantage of it because they haven't been outside the country. I think so we should remove the barriers because make them aware of the advantages of a global education, because right now the workplace is requiring global citizens. So make that easier for them. You can start with just a summer program where you say, why don't you go for a 6-week immersion program, get an advantage over the others. Then from 6 weeks, they will say, let me do a semester abroad. Let me do a year abroad, as a result of which I will get maybe a joint degree. And then I will go for 2 years abroad and get a dual degree. So I think that kind of facilitation should be done from our end as educators for our students. Some of the challenges could be financial challenges. Some of the challenges could be cultural challenges, language challenges. So I think it is our responsibilities as organizations to mitigate those challenges, show them the way that they can take advantage of the current internationalization that's happening in our education system. So I think that's what I like to say.
I think
right
very
now.
relevant, because now the flexibility that the new education policy is providing in terms of actually moving from one program to the other and getting and gathering those credits to result into a diploma or degree is fantastic.
I think the whole credit bank
Exactly.
system makes it
Right. Right.
possible for them to transfer their credits, take.
Absolutely.
So I think that is a good
And
initiative.
also, I think this is something like baking your own pizza. Toppings could be different. Base pizza is same. So I
Right.
think that is the kind of education system that is emerging for allowing these students in India to take advantage of portion of the Indian education and portion from the international university.
Right, because
That's right.
I mean, basically education is driven by research, and you're getting the best of the organizations with the most current research working with your students, which then drives your faculty, which then drives your student quality. So I think there's a flow that we need to take advantage of. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Now I go to Dr. Rai. I think he has ocean of knowledge about this concept, and I think he's the best person to address the gathering about the possibilities and opportunities and the challenges that the internationalization could bring to India. Sir.
Thank you very much. I am Sunil Rai. I come from UPES, the Chancellor at the moment. And to keep it brief, and as teachers we should know how to, we sometimes do not know how to limit ourselves. So therefore I will do a 3 by 3 into 2, which is I will talk of 3 opportunities areas and 3 challenges. So that gives me. The first opportunity that I talk about is knowledge. In globalization, and it was mentioned by my 2 predecessors about the knowledge exchange. Now knowledge will always, like water, flow from higher level to lower level. And therefore we as the community, the knowledge providing community, has to ensure that our knowledge is at a higher level, which is attractive enough for people to come to us and seek that particular knowledge. It was mentioned about so as far as science, technology is concerned, the West, and I will always look at people who are perceived to be better than us. And that's where the real globalization will impact, which is about, right at the moment is only about 15 to 20% of the world, which used to be different. So Bharat knowledge system is something where we can contribute. The knowledge of Vedas, the solutions which are suggested in the Bharat knowledge system, about whether it's development, negotiations, well-being of society and so on and so forth. So that's where we have an advantage in terms of the knowledge. So Bharat knowledge system provides an opportunity for us where, in my considered view, we have a lot to offer to the rest of the world. The second one is about development. As far as development is concerned, the whole world is now looking at different, so automation, digitization, all this, I think we have arrived as a world. We all know that UPI of India is one of the most successful digitization initiatives, and in G20 there are nations which are now looking at us. There are more than 40 nations where our UPI is effective, and then we are counting. So in development, but the other aspect which the world needs for development is sustainability in terms of climatology, in terms of preservation of water. They say the next world war, God forbid, if it fought, will be fought for water. And it's already happening. We are having not so good experiences in Bangalore. South Africa is anyway declared as a no water country, and it's unfortunate for the world. So at UPS we are working in several projects with government of Uttarakhand. For example, simplest one is we are trying to revive the rivers in Uttarakhand. We only have rivers which are monsoon rivers, and that's why the water table is depleting, and so is the story. So I think climatology, sustainability is the development area which is an opportunity for all of us to contribute. And the final thing is about contribution. So मनोज कुमार साहब ने कहा था, मैं बसाना चाह रहा हूँ स्वर्ग धरती पर, आदमी जिसमें रहे आदमी बनकर. Now that's where I think we are at an advantage. We have inherited tremendous knowledge about peace, inner peace, the peace with the society and so on and so forth. The entire world is now looking at us. That Vishwa Guru concept which will come is not to teach anything about IT or artificial intelligence, where also we are very good, thankfully, but it is basically about the peace. that, so I talked about sustainability in contribution and in development, and in contribution I'm talking about the peace. So tomorrow there will be requirement of the world coming to us for getting the peace. The entire problems in that, what is happening in Ukraine, in Israel, it's all about the issue of peace. So somebody has to first come to peace with inner self. So these are three opportunity areas I am suggesting to the panel in this house, is about knowledge, which is Indian knowledge system, development, which is sustainability, and contribution, which is peace. The three challenges that I see is, one is about perception. See, the perception is only improving in the last 10 years. Particularly in the 5 years, this G20 was, if at all anything, was a testimony to that the world is now taking us seriously. We being the 5th largest economy, also in any aspect of life you pick up, we are in top 10. Militarily, we are the 3rd strongest military power. Economically, we are the 5th strongest. So the perception is now changing, and this perception has to be actually marketed well. That please come to us, we have it. To improve the perception of the world to come to. I am talking about that 20%. I'm not talking about, with no offense meant to Africa or Brazil or South America or the, our neighbors, but I'm talking about the affluent West. They have to come to us. The perceptions are improving. I think that is something which we need to work at. The other one is infrastructure. The infrastructure has to improve. So we find it, all my colleagues, we are having foreign students. UPES is around 300 to 500 students every year, coming basically from Europe. And I feel that we have found wanting for infrastructure. The kind of facilities that they need in those places, we will have to create that. The third one is cost. The cost differential, because globalization is a two-way exchange. We should go and they should come. While they will find cost advantage, we have a problem in sending our students. So now that is some way we will have to work it out. This may not be the challenge maybe after 10 years, but at the moment it is this. So 3 challenges: perception, infrastructure, and cost. Thank you.
I think fantastic insight, sir. And I think absolutely correct. These challenges are reality. And we all are facing or will face in the near foreseeable future. But then I think we must be prepared, well prepared, because now we are riding the technology wave. Things have become much more easier rather than difficult, which was almost a decade ago. Now I turn my mic to respected Dr. Jayanand. Sir, we are talking about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, we are talking about world as our global citizens. And as Dr. Rai rightly mentioned, whereas we focus that our students normally are attracted towards the West, let people be attracted towards the East, and we saw this in G20 as he rightly mentioned. Now, how do you feel that this internationalization or globalization is going to impact the content creation and content dissemination? B, how the student mobility to international destinations and vice versa would be impacted? Your views, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Maheshwari. I am Dr. Jayanand, Vice-Chancellor of Shobhit University, Merit. Globalization, internationalization of education is not new thing. We had earlier also. What is new now? After national education policy, we all are working for the globalization of education. If we see in our age, only one directional movement was there, still it is there. The students are going abroad to take the education, to learn something new, technical things. Now globalization is enforced to keep all those students, other students of the globe, to come in India. If you see, the ultimate goal of globalization of education, you will find it is to be the Vishwa Guru. And if the students will come, if I am the Guru, then after the students will come from abroad. So how we will achieve that? How we will achieve the goal? When we will have India as the attractive destination, That is one point. If these are the milestones. If we achieve this, definitely we will be the global Vishwaguru. And then after, the competency. If we increase the competency of our learnings, our infrastructure, and I'm sure that because of the help of this AdTech companies, definitely we will increase the competency at the level of global. And then after, the mindset. Still, if we see, we are talking about the globalization of education. Do we have that mindset? We need to work on. We have to see the education in the mindset of the globe. And then after, definitely we have to make the linkages, research collaborations, everything. And then after, if we are doing this, automatically the global ranking will be increased. And if all these things are happening, definitely will be one day the global Vishwaguru, the India will be Vishwaguru. What are the new things? What are the old things in India? If you see the ancient wisdom, lot of things are there. Still it has not been deciphered, it has not been mechanized, it has not been cracked. If we channelize those wisdoms, if we prove those wisdoms scientifically to the globe, definitely they will accept our the teachings, and then after they will accept, they will come for the education. In our organization, we are working on Rudraksh. We all are knowing it is the sacred seed, Rudraksh. You might have heard about that. Since long back, in the ancient time, we are wearing, and we do feel that our ECGs are controlled, our emotions being controlled. Now, our scientists have seen the scientific evidence that why it is like that. It is having the electromagnetic behavior which controls the emotions. And lot of things are there. I would request you all to come and visit our campus and see how we are really converting the Indian wisdom, ancient wisdom. We call it Indian knowledge system. Now it is Bharat knowledge system. This can only be the tool for the Vishwaguru. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I'll go to Dr. Esha Bansal, Nodal Officer for NEP 2020 at HEIs University. And when we talk about NEP 2020, ma'am, I think NEP 2020 has a lot of provisions and possibilities to actually globalize or internationalize the education possibilities for students. And there could be a lot of permutations and combinations a student could possibly take when it comes to going through higher education. How do you think that the provisions of NEP 2020 could juxtapose with the internationalization or globalization aspect of the Indian higher education? Your views, ma'am.
Okay, right. Thank you so much. So if we talk about internationalization, I think earlier we used to have our universities, they are going global just for the value addition. But now the concept has been moved to the commercialization, the survival in this globalized world. So NEP also suggested us some strategies to survive in this globalized world. They have asked us to internationalize at home. Like we can build our capacity, then we can go for internship and apprenticeship programs for the STEM courses. Then NEP has suggested for the twinning programs with the international universities. Then universities are asked to set up the Office of International Affairs, right? But when we are implementing these strategies, we must also modify our curriculum according to the global context. And faculty must be included at every step of the internationalization. I think at the step of the course modification, then chalking out the plan for internationalization, because faculty, they remain at the front line of the transformation process. then when we are partnering with the other universities, we are going for the joint programs, we are going for the twinning programs, we must consider their evaluation system. We must keep in mind what type of teaching methodology they have, what type of work culture they have, because it affects these students. Then the other thing we should keep in mind is the language. When a student goes abroad or when a student comes in India, the major barrier is the language barrier. He needs someone to guide him, right? So, and the major barrier is the language barrier. So NEP has suggested to bring out some bridge courses or some language courses, and they've also suggested some buddy system in the organization, that with a foreign student, a domestic student or an Indian student can be attached so that they can help out when when a student faces any problem. Then we can also go for alumni. We should connect with alumni because they better tell us that where is the gap, what are the expectations of the market, and what we are delivering to the students. We can bridge those gaps. We can go for measurement of learning outcomes. It is very important. We have COs and POs in our curriculum, but we don't have any metrics for measurement of learning outcomes. We should measure the learning outcomes so that we can bridge those gaps, and we can enrich our course. We can add the credibility to our course when we are delivering the you can say a good product, a good quality education to the students. It will definitely gives us a limelight. Our university would be in the global ranking, right? So, thank you.
I think thank you so much. Fantastic contributions. I'll just give you a small perspective of true internationalization or globalization. Sir and ma'am, and I was attending an international class on behavioral science with a foreign university. This was a class of around 27 students, age groups 19 to 72, different nationalities, different backgrounds, different education, and what we were discussing was boss-subordinate relationship. And the moderator and the teacher asked us to describe 3 of our best bosses and 3 of our worst bosses in our careers. And the threaded discussion started amongst these 27 people, and all these discussions were based on their perception of boss-subordinate relationships. At the end of the discussion, the faculty came out with 17 different boss-subordinate styles, which no content, no book, no journal, no research paper has ever come out. That's the power of a typical global classroom, and that I foresee going forward as technology-enabled education. When we have global classes, we have global teachers and faculties and global students of different backgrounds talking to each other, and that will be the true global perspective that we actually foresee in the times to come. Now, with the little time left, I would go around the table, 1 minute each to conclude, and your concluding views. Dr. Patra.
Education is a large economy. By 2030, it will become 10 trillion as per projection. Now, globalization, thanks to all of us, has helped us enhance the quality as well as the global recognition of Indian higher education. The latest report by QS states that India's performance in research output has increased by 32%, which is the highest among G20 countries. My own institution itself has improved by 100% in the journal Q1, Q2, if you understand, quartiles, both in quality and quantity. So this is something for us to pat our backs on. But for a globe to become a global power, not somewhere we have 46,000 foreign students in our country, but we export 1 million students overseas, more than 1 million. We need to reverse those numbers in a way. I mean, at least the proportion. I don't mean the exact numbers to be reversed. For that, we need to truly invest in excellence, because as it was said, excellence cannot be bought. but excellence must be paid for. And if you look at the investment by India in higher education, it is about 2.7%. Out of that, 2.6%, out of that, 0.7% is in research and development in all of the country. And out of that, 8%, 8.8% of that 0.7% goes to higher education institutions. Now compare that with what way China invests. China invests in R&D alone at 2.6%, and US does at 3.2% or something like that. So there is a lot of gap between infrastructure and research funding levels for us to be truly a global power. I believe in the world of education, we actually cannot fill the required vacancies, which is teachers. The vacancy is 25% today. So we must utilize the new AI, the EdTech, and any of the tools that are at our disposal to improve our positioning. One final thing I wanted to say, I care about equality or equity of access. That is becoming a challenge because the technology is a double-edged sword. We must work very carefully so that we actually serve, the majority of our country, our citizenship. We should be careful about commodification and commercialization of education as well. Bottom line is we must care about our cultural entity. We may have global connection, but we must have local moorings, meaning our education must be informed by our own heritage and our own knowledge systems as well as we compete at the global level. With that, I would like to also mention the highest rate of college dropouts in our country is at 35.7%. We must stem that because otherwise it's a colossal waste. People go into the college, spend a lot of time and money, and then they drop out. What a waste for our nation. So we must address that and truly to become international powers in education, or the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, where we are a leader. But let's increase our standard through very careful and balanced approach to education. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Your concluding comments, ma'am.
I'll try and take 30 seconds. Basically, I think what we need to all focus on is research, because that is the core of every educational organization. Research drives your rankings and your accreditations, which makes your organization attract more international students to come in. Like my partner said at the other end, that we are exporting students, but how do we get the students in? To get the students in, we have to have high rankings. Rankings are based on research. So if we work with our faculty, which I think is something that we need to really work on, get them the resources to do the right research, to do the cutting edge research that will get us the ranking and the accreditation that will then attract the students and improve our whole system of education, because we are also attracting the best students. Then we have to work with our language and our culture to make sure they assimilate in our organization and be a part of our organization. So that is my last few words, and I will hand it over to the next person.
Thank you so much, sir. Your remarks.
I'll just add to what my two colleagues have said. I believe as an educating community, we have it in us. We have the knowledge, we have the wherewithal, the faculty, the students, etc. What is required is a kind of a concerted effort. I would like to quote in my experiences, one who does globalization in a concerted way is the Australia, New Zealand. As a country, as a nation, they are doing it. You must be aware that they have a minister for student exchange minister, a cabinet rank minister stationed in India. The person operates from Bangalore. Now that's the kind of seriousness Australia and New Zealand, this is why you find there is a shift of students going from US and UK to Australia and New Zealand. I think we need to do a similar thing as a nation, as a community. दूसरों की जय के पहले खुद की जय करें. Let us believe that we have that in us to be the Vishwa Guru and then create structures at institution level, state level. You heard our minister talk about it, and at a national level. There should be at a national level and as in a consortium way our representation in US, in Europe, in UK and in Australia and New Zealand to effect globalization. Thank you.
Absolutely right, sir. Dr. Jayanand, 30 seconds, sir.
Yeah.
Time is up. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I have spoken about the mandate of globalization. Now I will just take 30 seconds for how to be done. We all educational institutions are sitting in isolation today. If we have certain infrastructure that is not accessible to another organization, if some human resources are available in another organization that is not available to my student, so I would suggest break the barrier, make the consortium. My student should not have the limitation of infrastructure of my own institution. He should have the infrastructure of your institution also, and then after he can conceptualize the research, and then after that research will be in the global competition. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Esha, 30 seconds. Thank you.
Okay, my final take is, I suggest that universities and higher education institutions must re-examine their strengths, their weaknesses in this globalized world, and we must deliver the meaningful content, meaningful quality education to the students. And along with the meaningful and quality education, the education should be affordable. And the other aspect, which is most concerned aspect, is the assessment. The formative and summative assessment should be included. It would encourage the students to improve their performance. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank to all the co-panelists for their wonderful views on the topic. I think this is such a topic we can discuss throughout the day, but then very relevant inputs from all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so